Well, hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. My name is Pete Selby. Alongside me, we've got the full crew here. It's myself, Pete Selby, Rob Hayes, and Andy Moore. And we are talking all things Leicester City winning the Premier League 10 years ago. This is a podcast episode to soothe the soul of every Leicester fan currently. We are not going to talk about anything to do with this season whatsoever. Okay, that is out of the window. That's all gone. That doesn't matter. We're going way back. We're going back 10 years to our league winning season. And we're going to be discussing, we're not going to go through every game in a kind of orderly fashion. It's not going to be boring. We're going to be talking about our own memories. We want you to get involved mainly as well. We're talking about our favorite moments. We want to know your favorite moment, little idiosyncratic moments as well. Where were you at certain times when certain famous things happen 10 years ago? So get in contact. If you're watching live, big hello. Do comment. If you're watching on X, if you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, comment as we go through. And if you're listening back to this, this is an episode that you can listen back to whenever. It could be 50 years in the future. If you are listening 50 years in the future, Rob Hayes, a big hello to all those future people. Maybe you, Rob. Big hello to you 50 years in the future. How are you, Rob, on this bank holiday Monday?
Oh, I'm having a lovely time. I'm very much ready to strap in and discuss what happened 10 years ago, because it was on Bank Holiday Monday at the beginning of May 10 years ago that it was all confirmed. So it's very fitting that I think we're sat here today, and it's been really nice actually preparing for this, because as viewers and listeners to For Fox's Sake will know, as Pete and Andy know very, very well, my retention of football facts and occurrences and moments is very poor. A lot of people say to me, "Oh yeah, but you've commentated on X amount of hundreds of football matches. It must all be in here." I was like, "No, it's not written down on a piece of paper in front of me. It doesn't really exist." So it's been nice over the last few days preparing for this episode, having a look back and taking a trip down memory lane.
And Andy, when we head over to forfoxsake.news, there'll be plenty. There'll be a little bit on there, won't there, about the old league winning season, I'm sure, and maybe a few memories, and maybe something that we can do over the summer. But there's lots on forfoxsake.news, so head over there right now. More on that in the next 30 odd seconds or so. But Andy, we're all branded up, aren't we? I've gone for 1983 blue Leicester shirt. Rob's gone for the, I'm going to say 2016-17. I think, yes, he's got the champions badges on. That's knowledge there. And Andy, you've got a badge on as well. Is that a training top that we're wearing?
Training top, yeah. I like the training tops. Always have done.
So and how do we find you on this bank holiday?
Yeah, tired. Been working all weekend at the cricket, but yeah, all good. All ready to go.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Now, we are going to mention one thing about the current state. So again, if you're listening 50 years in the future, then this is not for you. But this is for every single Leicester City fan listening, watching to this podcast. We have a giveaway here at For Fox's Sake. Now, if you're listening, don't worry. But if you're watching, I'm just going to show something on screen because I have it right here. We have a signed and framed Ricardo Pereira shirt. It's an absolute beauty. I'm going to show it now. Look at this. Look at that. It's absolutely fantastic. It's wrapped up, actually, to be honest. So it's all ready to go. There we are. Look at that. Fantastic. Anyway, there's more on forfoxsake.news. There's better versions of it on forfoxsake.news. There's a really nice picture of it. You can see it's got a couple of pictures at the bottom of Ricardo Pereira holding the championship trophy and also the FA Cup. Wonderfully signed. It's a big thing. It's a big boy. It's about 87 centimeters by 67. It's, again, all on forfoxsake.news. Head there. Now, if you want to win this, we are giving it away. We are literally giving it away. All you have to do is be a member of forfoxsake.news. So become a member and you're in the draw. That's it. If you are currently a member, you're already entered. So don't worry about that. How are you a member? How do you become a member? Nice and easy. Head to forfoxsake.news and you can find the Ricardo Pereira giveaway icon and you can click on that and have a look at the shirt if you want and see all the details. But the main thing is, just become a member. Now, you can click subscription straight away and you can pay £5 a month to subscribe to the website. You get all sorts, in-depth coverage on Leicester City, nostalgia, interview with former players, plenty of coverage of the games, loads over the summer, of course. There's going to be absolutely stacked on there. There's lots to do with Leicester City women as well. And of course, it keeps these podcasts free. But become a member. It costs £5 a month. Or if you want to pay for an entire year, you get a couple of months free by paying £50. So go to forfoxsake.news, become a member. And once you're a member, you're automatically in. Okay, so if you want to have a look at the shirt, head over there and you can see the link on there, and you can have a browse around the sites. And then if you feel like you want to enter the competition, then do become a member. Not only are you a member of the website and you get all the great content, but you're also in the draw for the shirts. And the draw is going to be made at the end of May. So you've got a few weeks, but my advice, head over to the website now, take a look, and then become a member. And once you're a member, you're in. And you're going to win the shirts, possibly, fingers crossed. Live draw, which is nerve-wracking for me because I think I'm going to have to do the draw on time. But we've done one before and it went fine. Anyway, we're going to do that again later on in the show. Rob, when I say to you, Leicester City won the league 10 years ago, okay, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What's the first thing when you see it on TV, when you hear it on the radio, when anyone mentions to you about, oh, when they won the league, what's the first thing that just comes to mind?
First thing for me is where I was the night it was confirmed on the Monday night, Chelsea 2, Spurs 2. Yeah, you're settling back because you know the story. I was covering the World Snooker Championship there in the press room. We had the snooker on a couple of the screens, obviously, but we also had the football on a few of the others. It was Mark Selby in the final, obviously big Leicester fan. And Chelsea 2, Spurs 2 finished. And I kind of half celebrated, like the people in the press room who weren't working to a deadline were jumping on me and all sorts like that. But we were a few minutes away from the snooker finishing. 13 minutes later, Mark Selby won the World Snooker Championship. And obviously he didn't know that Leicester had won the league at that point because he was out there winning a world title. So once I'd filed my copy to the newspapers about Selby winning the final, winning the world title for the second time, then it was just one massive party. And the after tournament parties at World Snooker Championships are mental anyway. But with Selby having won it, and he and I had talked Leicester for the whole of the 3 weeks and most of the other tournaments I'd worked at in the previous few years, you know, to spend that evening, and I'm not saying in his company like I was attached to him by his side, but just being around him and his family on the night where my top two sports in terms of sports that I watched growing up, sports that I worked in as a kid, all sports that I watched growing up and worked in when I was an adult, let's get that right, no child labor here, all culminated together in one 13-minute period of my life. And I think professionally and personally on a sporting front, it will never, ever, ever be beaten. It was unforgettable. I spoke at the top of the show about forgetting loads of stuff. That is something that will never, ever leave me.
And Andy, the same question to you. Again, it could be something very minor. You know that mine's going to be a really weird thing that happened that always comes to mind. What about yourself? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Again, so you're driving along, you're going off to Grace Road to cover the Leicestershire County Cricket, First Division beating Durham. And then all of a sudden on the radio, they mention, it's 10 years since Leicester won the Premier League. And what's the first thing that comes across your mind?
Really weird one, isn't it? Because it was surreal. But the biggest thing for me is Andrea Bocelli singing at the bloody stadium. It was, I couldn't believe it. That you think about it, what's important. The football's important, but then what do you remember? And you remember bloody Andrea Bocelli singing at the stadium because Claudio Ranieri was his like hero or whatever it was, kind of thing. So that just reminds me of it. And that day was very, very surreal for me. It was something that I never thought was going to happen. And to have him there after we'd won, obviously, 4-0 against Everton, and to lift the trophy and all that, it was just quite something that I'd never thought I'd ever see. And I don't think I'll probably see it again, sadly. But it was just the culmination of quite incredible season that was the most fun that I think I've ever had watching a football team. And I've said before, I loved it when we went down to League One the first time, because we were going around and visiting all these stadiums. But even going to the Premier League and winning the title and things like that, that still trumps it for me, and it always will be. And I don't think I'll ever think of anything more than this season being one of the greatest sporting achievements that we've ever seen.
See, the thing is now you've come up with Andrea Bocelli. Rob's talking about being at the snooker and that 13 minutes of ultimate Leicester sporting glory. The thing for me, I sat down this afternoon with the Bible. Okay, I sat down with the Bible, and we all know out there the Bible is. There we are. Yeah, it's fossils and foxes. So I sat down just purely because I wanted to do a little quiz, which we're going to do in a very short while, which is right up Rob's street. And there's one thing that always reminds me of that season, and there's a few points. We're going to come on to our individual points shortly. But when we played Newcastle at home, okay, the Okazaki overhead kick, I don't know whether Rob was there with me in the stands. Probably, I think so. But I don't know whether you remember, Rob. It was the game where I spilt a chicken balti pie down me at half time. Okay, so we're there commentating on the game, and all I remember was in the second half. And the game is a little bit of a stalemate, but then in the second half it automatically it got a bit exciting, and I just kept on like looking down, and I had so much down me, it was ridiculous, and I don't know why. That's what I remember. I remember looking down, and there was a substitution, and I looked down, and all I could see was just this sauce all over my nose. I don't know how I managed to get it everywhere, and that's a strange thing that I just think of. I don't know why, but I think as years gone by, the sauce has got further and further across my notes. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those stories, but that's a weird one that I always think of. More sensibly, there is one, and that's going to be one of my first top moments. I'm going to go straight in, and it doesn't include Leicester. It's not Leicester playing. It's not being at the ground. At the time, I still work for Entain for Ladbrokes as a broadcaster commentator, but at the time I was actually still in shops, and I was. It was the 25th of April, so just after my birthday, and it was Spurs 1, West Brom 1, and it was the game where Craig Dawson scored both goals. He scored an own goal for Tottenham, and then in the 73rd minute, he scored the equaliser. When that goal went in, my stomach went like you're on the Big Dipper, like you're on the missile at Alton Towers if she's no longer there. It went. And it never has done that before or since watching football. Maybe a few times in that with Leicester in the Champions League, etc. But that was it. That really was it. And I felt physically ill, to be perfectly honest. I really did. It got me massively. And when the final whistle went, it happened again. And then my phone rang. And it was my dad, who is a season ticket holder at Leicester up until the season that's just gone. And brilliant seats. I mean, he might be listening to this, but not a massive drinker, likes a beer every now and again and that. But my uncle lived around the corner, and my phone rang about 5 seconds after the final whistle went, and he was phoning me, and he's running, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm running around Chris's with a bottle of whiskey. Doesn't drink whiskey, you know." And you could hear like the emotion in him. He's not an emotional man. Unbelievable. Like, so it got him as well. It was the time when all of a sudden it got real. Do you know what I mean? And that was it was just what I remember. My stomach went big time. Rob, I want to know one of your individual favorite moments of the season.
When you asked me to pick three, I thought there was absolutely no way that I can find any kind of ranking system to determine these. So I decided to go for a funny one, a turning point, or like an ultimate highlight. So which one of those three do you want?
Oh, Andy, what do you reckon? Shall we go for should we go turning point? Go on in. What's the turning point?
The turning point is kind of closely linked to another memory that I have from the season that isn't necessarily hugely about football. It was the first Valentine's Day with my now wife, and we'd only been seeing each other 4 months, something like that, at the time. You know she's a keeper when you drag her out to watch Leicester on Valentine's Day, your first Valentine's Day, and she's still knocking about a decade later. We were playing Arsenal, and Vasilevsky got sent off for one of his many absolutely GBH-style tackles. And we lost 2-1, and everyone was saying, "Oh, is this where the wheels come off?" But then within a few days, a few weeks max, we went and smashed Man City. And Riyad Mahrez was, well, I mean, that was basically his audition to end up being a Man City player a couple of years later, wasn't it? And that, to overcome that, when Arsenal weren't in the title race. It was always the old Spurs came third in what was essentially a 2-horse race for most of it, but Arsenal was still right up there and obviously one of the best sides in the country. And to lose to them in the manner that we did, to then go back and last minute on Valentine's Day, breaking hearts on Valentine's Day, and then to hit back and dominate Manchester City, that for me was a big moment in the season.
And of course, the famous tweet from Leicester saying, if half an hour ago, if you're joining us half an hour late, we're was it 3-0 up at Man City and Robert Huth's on a hat trick. Quite ridiculous. Andy, again, it could be the Vardy goal, the volley against Liverpool. It could be anything. But it's interesting that we've automatically kind of gone towards moments in our own lives or strange moments that are individual to us that actually wasn't anything to do with the actual football itself, if you know what I mean. And I think that really, especially 10 years later, encapsulates the win. We all know the headlines, and we'll come on to those moments, but we all know what happened on the field. But it's those stories off the field, I think, just makes it special. And also, just in football in general, it could be a playoff final win, it could be a playoff final defeat, it could be an FA Cup win, it could be a League One win, maybe next season. And there will be all these stories regarding that season and that finale that people will be talking about for years to come. That is what makes football, isn't it? One of your favourite memories then?
I think looking at it again, I'm almost around the same time as Rob. When we lost to Arsenal, I think we were Norwich. I think we played. And Ajoa got a last-minute winner. And again, I thought that was a key moment for me when we've just lost to Arsenal. We think things might start rolling as such. And then we go and get a last-minute winner. And it's big...
The Leo next game.
Ajoa. Yeah, was it the next game? Big Leo Ajoa comes on the next game and gets an 8th to 9th minute winner.
And sets off an earthquake. Don't forget, we had an earthquake.
Yeah, the earthquake and all that. Yeah, but yeah, it was just for me that was a key moment because I think obviously I don't think we lost another game then. I think we went on a run of God knows how many points. And for me, I think if we'd have not got something there or we'd have lost that game, a game you were expected to win against Norwich, who were obviously struggling at the time, I think that was very, very key, and we needed it because I don't think we'd played very well that game, if I remember rightly. I think it was one of our poorer games that we'd played, and you, like you say, you think the wheels are going to come off and the dream's going to die, but actually getting that last-minute winner, it just seemed to reinvigorate them, I think, and I think they knew then that if they just worked hard and worked as a team, and they had a team full of characters, didn't they, and a team full of people that wanted to work harder. Obviously, a very vast comparison to what we've got now, but it was just key. And I think getting that goal, getting that win on the board, and basically getting back on the horse straight away was something that we really needed to do. And I think it was a very key moment for us.
It certainly was, and I've got something very similar actually. We'll play a little quiz in the next few seconds. But I've got down here. It was not the ease in which we won the games, but the ease in which Leicester appeared when they were 1-0 in front. So after we drew 2-2 against West Bromwich Albion later on in the season, 1st of March, I was travelling down the M1. I was going to a meeting regarding actually what I'm doing now as a career. So it was quite a big day. And I was listening to the coverage on 5 Live, and we drew 2-2 at home against West Brom. And overall, it seemed at the time that it was a bit of a disaster, but not really. But after that, we won 1-0. We had 4 1-0 wins against Watford away, with the Mahrez goal, Newcastle at home, which I've mentioned already, the Balti Pie game, Palace away. The Palace away game where all the fans started chanting and singing. I was actually in Vegas at the time, and that's a different story. And then Southampton at home, we won 4-0 on all those occasions. Now, for the 3 games that I was there for or watched, just really not really comfortable, I thought, when they were in front. It wasn't really a nail biter, and I think that was a real key thing with Leicester in those individual games. But I want to play a little bit of a quiz. Okay, I've got a few things written down. So play along at home. Make sure you're commenting as well. Send in your comments regarding the league win season. Where were you at the time? Individual moments. What were your highlights? Make sure you comment now. If you're watching on YouTube, watching on X, watching on Twitter, watching on Facebook, however you are, make sure you do comment. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you do subscribe to our channel and you'll get this and every single podcast we do. Don't forget the Women's Football Show with Lily Saunders and, of course, all the previews and loads coming in the next few weeks, by the way. Loads coming regarding what happened this season, etc. And, of course, there'll be plenty more on the shirt that you can win, the signed and framed Ricardo shirt. I want to know, sports fans, I want to know who started more games, okay, in the league winning season, in the league. I'm going to give you 3 players who started more games. Jeffrey Schlupp, Andy King, or Richie Delat? Rob.
Oh, good question. I feel like Andy King was a bring him on 60 minutes kind of player that season. Depends really on. I'm going Schlupp.
So Jeffrey Schlupp for Rob. Andy.
I'm going Richie Delat because I think he started a load of games before Danny Simpson took over. If I remember rightly, he got both. He then went to Middlesbrough on loan and got a winner's medal with them, I think, getting promoted as well. So I think he possibly was the one who started the first 4 or 5 games for Leicester.
Well, Richie Delat very nearly did the impossible by winning a league winners medal in the Premier League and then a league winners medal in the Championship. I think they came second on the last day of the season, I think maybe. But 3 points goes to Rob Hayes. Rob Hayes, sports fans. Interestingly, the reason that this question came up is because I wrote down the stats for Jeffrey Schlupp. He started. This is a Premier League winning team. He started 14 games for Leicester. That's 14 games. He came on 10 times as a sub, and of course scored 1 goal. Where did he score?
No, that kind of question I can't do. Multiple choice I can do over an entire season. A specific moment like that, no chance.
Sunderland.
He scored away at Norwich, a game-winning winner as well, game-winning goal. So it just shows you how important someone like that was. Richie Delat started 7 games. Interesting enough, Richie Delat scored a goal. Again, this is all league, so league goal. Any idea which game? It's difficult. I didn't know he scored. It completely passed me by. He scored quite early. He scored in that 3-2 turnaround against Villa, where Nathan Dyer got cleaned up with the winning goal. He scored, I think, the first goal. Was it a flick on at the corner and scored? Again, I didn't realise that. And Andy King had 16 appearances from the bench, but 9 starts. So he was the player with the most... he was the player with the second most substitute appearances with 16. Who had the most substitute appearances?
Ochoa.
Leo Ochoa, 22 substitute appearances. Unbelievable. And also, Ochoa was the third top scorer in the team. Interesting. While we're in stats corner, I'll give you a stat then, or I want to know what's percentage. Okay, play along at home. What percentage of goals in the league did Mahrez and Vardy score for Leicester? So Mahrez and Vardy combined, and then every other league goal that Leicester scored. What percentage was scored by Mahrez and Vardy? I want a number from Andy, and then Rob, you can go higher or lower.
65%.
65. Higher or lower, Rob Hayes?
That is high. I'm going lower.
I tell you what, the winner is Rob, right? But I'm going to say that we're all winners today, aren't we? We're all winners on this podcast. It's 60%, but it's actually like 60.8%. So remarkable, really, amount of goals that they scored. And
Planet Earth wasn't far away there, guessing 56%. Guess it along. People enjoying this quiz, Pete. I mean, I'm sweating. My palms are sweating about this. People are enjoying it at home. I was going round. About, if I'd have been asked for a number, then I'd have been probably in the late 30s, early 40s. So I'm not giving them enough credit, clearly.
I'm pretty good on this. Well, there's two more questions. I'm pretty good on the league winning season, but these stumped me. I would have got one eventually. Rob Hayes, Andy Moore. Who did Leicester lose to in the FA Cup? This completely forgot about this. Whoever knows, say an answer first. First past the post.
Stoke City.
Not Stoke. Andy? I completely forgot about this, by the way.
I think, if I remember rightly,
third round.
Did we play Hull City that year?
I'm going to give you half a point. It's not Hull. It's completely different to Hull. We lost to Tottenham in a replay. We drew 2-2 away at Spurs, Vasilevsky and Okazaki, and then we lost 2-0 at home to Spurs in the third round. Again, completely not a clue. Now, the League Cup is interesting because Hull is where we lost in the League Cup on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Mahrez scored. We beat Bury 4-1 in the first round, and we beat West Ham 3-0, or we scored at least 3 goals in the second round. Who scored 4 goals in the League Cup campaign in our Premier League winning season? Who scored 4, including a hat-trick?
Oh, it's got to be someone surprising by the sound of that.
I'm going to go with Joa.
Danny Drinkwater.
No. It is the Leicester-spotted Doodoo. Joseph Doodoo. I think it was Joseph, wasn't it?
Yes, Doodoo. Yes, I remember him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He scored a hat-trick against Bury, and then he scored against West Ham. He came on in one game in the league, which I don't think gets you a medal. He came on once, and it was at Bournemouth in a draw. And it was part of Vardy's goal-scoring run. Now, that Bournemouth game is an interesting game for me, Andy, because that was the game. It was away from home, and I watched it in the Beacon in Loughborough, which you might know. And they had it on the TV. I don't want to know how they had it on TV, but they did. And I was there with my dad watching it. And it was the game when they brought on, N'Golo Kante. And they brought him on the wing. And he decided to play the last 10 minutes inside in the middle, whether by accident, I think it kind of was. And all of a sudden, we're there, and we weren't slating him, but we were kind of going, "Oh yeah, who's this guy? He's not done anything. He's not very good. Typical, And then all of a sudden, there was just 1 or 2 moments going, "This guy's pretty good in the middle of the park," and he didn't do anything special in that game. But what a player! I mean, we've all heard the things about N'Golo Kante, the driving a Mini, etc., running to the training, having to be told to stop train. Also, the fact that when they talk about the midfield, it was Drinkwater with Kante on his left and Kante on his right, etc., and all those stories. But what a player. Absolutely sensational. And it took a few games again for Claudio to realise what he had and also to realise where he could play him. But because we had such a great start, I presume Claudio didn't really want to change things, because why would you at the start? But my God alive, what a player.
Yeah, I saw a clip today, actually, of Wes Morgan on Akin Fenwa's Beast Mode podcast saying when Kante turned up for his first training session, just saying he's never seen anybody make a first impression like that. Obviously, it took us a little while to see the best of him on the pitch and for Ranieri to find the place to slot him in. But Morgan said that he is the best player he's ever played with or trained with. And he saw that from literally the first training session. So, I mean, obviously Wes Morgan didn't play at the highest level for very long. He wasn't in some star-studded sides, but to make an impression on the skipper like that instantly, yeah, just incredible. And what a guy as well as a footballer. Just his attitude to everything, what he's done for communities as well. Just mad.
And I suppose at this stage we can always look at what he did afterwards as well. Winning World Cups, etc., Champions League. But I suppose when I look at those 1-0 wins late on in the season, that's when really N'Golo Kante came to the fore, because not Leicester weren't hanging on, but they were in a position where they generally got in front in those games and then really controlled the games, Andy. And I don't know about you, but I was, again, going back to what I said earlier, I never really felt too nervous watching those games. Yes, we were commentating at the time, but you still had the nerves, didn't you, Rob? When you're commentating and Leicester are hanging on in a game, that is still nervous, even though you're concentrating on doing your job. They do still creep in. But that's when really Kante came into his own. I think the game against Man City we've mentioned with Mahrez, and I've got down Mahrez. Obviously, it was sensational all season, scored some amazing goals. And we'll come on to him in a minute. But whilst we're talking about Kante, I would credit, if someone said to me, what was N'Golo Kante like in that season? I'll tell the story about the Bournemouth game. I'll mention something like Man City, when I think that proved to a lot of teams, right, this guy is a standout, even in the game when Mahrez is standing out and Huth, etc., and a few other people. He really was excellent. But it was in those final 10 games. I mean, we were top for 17 games. Once we hit the front after January sometime, we were then top for 17 games. And I put a lot of that down to Kante, because those games where we didn't concede and we controlled games by just 1-0, an awful lot was down to him.
I think for me, I think for a lot of time that season, obviously after Kante came into the side, you thought, oh, this is just some player. I'd argue he's probably the best player that we've ever had. You obviously, you've got someone like Vardy, obviously done what he's done. You know what Riyad Mahrez can do as well, and things like that. But I think as a technical player, I think he's the best player we've probably ever had. And I always remember thinking to myself, how the hell are we going to keep him next season? And obviously, he didn't stay for the Champions League campaign the following year. But I thought to myself, maybe he's a bit of an unknown quantity. He's obviously doing very, very well. He might be a one-season wonder. He might be a Michu or somebody like that who comes in and does a job for one season, and maybe he will stay. But I think towards the end of the season, like I say, those games where we just controlled the play and we just knew that if we got our noses in front, we weren't going to often lose control of these games, kind of thing. I just thought, you know what, he's not staying here. He's too good for this level. He needs to be in an elite side. And yes, you can argue that we were obviously the best team in the land that year. But if you realistically look at it, it's one of those seasons where everything went right for us, everything went wrong for everybody else. And he was just levels probably above where we were. And it's sad to say that, because I really would have loved to have seen him here the following year. And I don't think, I think if he'd have had another season with us, could we have gone further in the Champions League? I wouldn't put it past us. Could Claudio stayed as manager? Again, I think he was that big of a player. He could have been the difference between what went on the following season, kind of thing. So, yeah, he was just one of the best players I think I've ever seen. Just so technical, so good. I almost put him on a par with somebody like a Pirlo or somebody like that. He was just technically great.
I mean, I sense another episode of What If, Rob, with N'Golo Kante stayed at Leicester, what would have happened the next season? And I suppose the credit really is the fact that we went and got Wilfred Ndidi, who turned into one of the best centre midfielders we've had at the football club, and yet the difference was for all to see the following season. And also in this current time, a lot of former players have been saying that about what happened after and about what happened with N'Golo, and they were begging him to stay. Just give us one more season. You're going to be playing Champions League football, and then you can go off and join the Chelseas, the Madrids, whoever you want to. Give us one more season, but his mind was set, etc. And obviously went on to great things. Speaking of great things, Riyad Mahrez, if we touch on a few players, amazing, absolutely amazing. Interestingly, he scored the first goal of that season against Sunderland on a sunny day. I was in Ibiza at the time at a friend's wedding. Yes, that sounds great. It kind of was great. I had a great time, but also I missed Leicester winning 4-2 against Sunderland. And also I had tickets for day one of the Ashes test, England-Australia at Trent Bridge. And it was when Stuart Broad took 8 wickets for whatever it was, Andy. I mean, it was 8 for 15 or something. Oh, I think it was 8 for 15, wasn't it? I dug that from the depths. I had a ticket and oh dear, like what a week of sport. And I was in the beat. Anyway, so he scored the first goal, but I mean, what a sensational player, sensational season. I always say when he came on his debut, and I seem to remember it was Blackpool or someone like that, straight away, and he replaced the best player or the player of that ilk at the club, which was Anthony Knockaert. And he goes off, on comes Mahrez, and he's better. And you're going, hang on, who's this guy? He was instantly better. It's not always he's developed into. He was instantly better. He was brilliant. And yeah, scored the first goal. But there was a period of games, Rob. First of all, one of my favourite games, the goal he scored against Chelsea. Okay. And that Chelsea side was the champions. It was Jose Mourinho's side. And that, of course, was the game where Mourinho left and had a meltdown, etc. The press conference after, which of course we weren't really meant to go to, Rob, but we did. We won't tell that story. And I've got a few pictures actually from that press conference because you could sense something was happening. Mahrez has scored an amazing goal. What a brilliant goal! But also that was in the middle of a brilliant run because he scored a hat-trick prior against Swansea. And then the following game, after the goal against Chelsea and getting rid of Mourinho, he scored a double in a 3-2 win away at Goodison Park. So a real purple patch. Everyone then remembers the goal against Manchester City, which probably sealed the move in the end to City because that was Pellegrini City. And then in came Pep, I think around about February or something of that season. But overall, just a sensational season. And of course, his partnership with Vardy, we'll come on to, was absolutely exceptional. But just a 1 or 2 highlights from Mahrez, who I think at times we know about Vardy and what he's done, etc., and Kante and a few other players we've had at the club. But I think Mahrez would be possibly one of the only players I could describe on more than one occasion in the season, multiple times, unplayable.
Oh, he was, yeah. And once he'd got to grips with English football, I disagree slightly about your point at how he didn't have any kind of development period because he found he was very, very skinny when he first signed for Leicester. I mean, he didn't put on much timber or much muscle in his time at the club, don't get me wrong, but he learned quite quickly how to use the attributes that he had to make pretty much any fullback he liked look very, very silly. And you know, his ball control is, you know, if we're picking out as Andy mentioned about Kante being a top player, like one of the best he's ever seen in a Leicester shirt, technically Riyad Mahrez is absolutely that. His ability to beat people 1v1, the touches out of the sky, the first touches, the quality of delivery, the finishing. A lot of people thought he was one-footed, and then he smashes that right footer in against Man City after sitting about half the team down. You know, just everything about him was great. And when he was in full flow, the swagger that he had was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, and I'm really pleased actually that now we're looking back. Obviously, it was a long time ago, but it got to the point where it might have turned a little bit. Well, it did turn sour, didn't it, when he was trying to force his move? But actually, now we can look back at that, and that's kind of fairly irrelevant, and you can just remember the ridiculous quality that he had when he was in a Leicester shirt.
I suppose if you're going to do that and you're going to force a move like he did, you've got to back it up. And back it up, he has massively. Yeah. And also, I never felt when I was watching him at Manchester City, I was cheering him on. I like to watch former players who have done very well at Leicester, and you do, don't you, as a neutral, or some people do, I do. And I used to watch Mahrez and cheer him on from afar, and he scored some brilliant goals against us, actually. But again, I said unplayable, like just at times, Andy, he was superb. The best first touch that I've ever seen. The best first touch.
Yeah, and for me, I think we probably got the best out of him as well. I think, don't get me wrong, he went to Man City and did some great things there, especially the first couple of years that he went there. But people couldn't work out how to play him when that whole season for us, and probably the year after as well. For a lot of the year after, he was just that kind of player there. They're seeing him time and time again. Why aren't people closing him down? Why aren't people getting him, roughing him up a bit? But they didn't, and they couldn't, because they couldn't get near him, and he was so technically flair player and things like that as well. Because he was, again, you look across that whole squad and you think, how many players are probably in the top 5 of the best players we've ever had at this club, or top 10. You've got to have a good number of them that are going to be in that squad, and Mahrez is probably right up there alongside Kante and Vardy. He was just amazing. I mean, that goal against Chelsea that you said, again, the one for me is the pass to Vardy for the Liverpool goal. I think it was first time, if I remember rightly. He hit it first time. He knew where he was going to be, and he just hit it, and it just landed perfectly. Sat up lovely for him. And yeah, he was just quality, just class. And I do think we got the best out of him, because the season, like I say, the season before we won it, we'd had Knockout there and things like that. And he was a great player. He was a good player for us. I'm not saying he wasn't, but that season for the Premier League title win, he was just a different gravy.
Interesting question, actually, from Planet Earth. And we're just, if you're picking one Premier League winning player to play in the season just gone. So if again you're listening to this in 50 years in the future, it's the season we got relegated to the League One. Who would it be? Who would you say? So it's a 2015-16 version of that player. Who would be a most needed, Andy?
Oh, that's a tough question, because you just talked about the 3 that we had. I'm probably going to go somewhere else just because of what we probably needed. I'm going to go Kasper Schmeichel, because we needed this season more than anything a confident goalkeeper who put confidence into the back 4, and it was just absolutely missing. And he was a goalkeeper that put that confidence in. Yes, I could pick Kante, I could pick Mahrez, I could pick Vardy all day long, and they'd have an amazing impact. But just for actually what we needed, it would be Schmeichel.
Rob, same question to you.
I've had the benefit of a few minutes to think about this, because I've seen the comment come through a little while ago. So it's been whirring around in my head. I'm going somewhere. I thought Andy was going to steal my answer. I'm going somewhere different again. I'm going Wes Morgan, because I think on the pitch, he gets you 5 more goals at one end, and he at least saves you 5 goals at the other. And in those key moments in games that, I mean, we've been absolutely woeful this season in both boxes. And I think he would have made a massive difference to that. And the other reason is, and I mentioned this in my feature on for Fox8.news, looking back at Ricardo Pereira's career. If you've not seen that yet, that is a free article, actually. If you're not a member of Fox8.news yet, there's a little taster of the kind of content that we're putting out there. And I said in the sort of legacy section of it that Ricardo, fantastic servant to the football club and great as part of a leadership team, but not the captain that we needed this season. We needed a captain to grab people by the scruff of the neck, to take absolutely no nonsense and drag people to results, rather than sort of be nicey about it and say, look at me, I'm training 100%. Why aren't you? And then players not bothered. Wes Morgan would have held standards for me a lot higher, and would have, I believe, played a big part in dragging us just about to championship safety. So I'd have gone Morgan.
Well, my first pick, and I'll stay with it, it's not either Morgan or Schmeichel. It's Jamie Vardy. It's a nice link into now talking about Vardy. Again, lack of goals have been crucial this season, and a 2015-16 Jamie Vardy up front would have kept us up, no problem. And that was the ultimate thing, wouldn't it have been? So I would have had Jamie Vardy in a heartbeat, really, for this season, because we just didn't have anything really up front, did we? And Vardy, his season was amazing, wasn't it, 10 years ago? And I suppose when you look at the season itself, it was kind of split into thirds, because the first third was dominated by Jamie Vardy and the run and the 11 goals, etc., on the bounce. And there was, of course, there's no thoughts about the league. Now, if you're Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, whoever, if you're top, if you're going really well at that stage of the season, in the first third of the season, you're instantly looking at the Premier League. We weren't, were we? We were too busy concentrating on Jamie Vardy scoring in the next game, regardless of the result, because we're not going to stay towards the top of the league, obviously. And I think it was a great distraction. And then, of course, when Vardy doesn't score, all of a sudden you kind of have a bit of a reality check and go, right, oh, hang on, where are we? We're third, second, first, top of the league. It's quite ridiculous. That run was just sensational. Yes, a few penalties in there, but some excellent finishes, brilliant goals. And again, I've never heard the King Power. Lots of people say the Sevilla game with the goal for Albrighton, or maybe Wes Morgan, etc. But I still think the loudest noise at the King Power that's ever been, you were Joa and the earthquake, etc. But it was Vardy's goal against Manchester United, because it was a different noise for me. It was a evening game, live on Sky, Manchester United, and a very a decent Manchester United side, but it's still a big thing playing United, and all the eyes of the entire world really were on Jamie Vardy. And for him to score, so early, and for him to score, to put us one up as well in the game, it was all there. And also, it wasn't a goal that bobbled off his knee or did it cross the line, etc. It was a bit of a net buster, wasn't it? Obviously, a fantastic no-look pass by Christian Fuchs, and then Vardy in on goal, bang, goal. Brilliant celebration, but it was a different noise, because Leicester fans were celebrating the goal. Yes, we're 1-0 up against Manchester United in this big game, but they were celebrating for Vardy, and it was a strange high-pitched cheer when that goal went in. Never heard anything like it. Probably never hear anything again. Hopefully we'll do. Again, we're in the commentary box. One of the bins was off my ears because I wanted to hear it, and it was a strange noise, Andy. But what a season that man had. A fantastic season. And just a one more before you mentioned Vardy. One of my key moments of the season, and one of the memories that I have, and I look back on and go, that's the bit which got everyone, because it's when it got Claudio, when Vardy scored the second goal at Sunderland late on in the season. And that's when Claudio came on the pitch, and it just got him, didn't it? Because then he realised, right, the Champions League have been secured. It's now the league. And then we go and win quite comfortably up at Sunderland. And as soon as he scores that goal, Vardy, at the end, that second goal, and that was it. The waterworks had just started, and it just got to Claudio, which was great, because that's when it became right. Now it's all about the league, and that's what he said. But Vardy, even though it's a strange goal actually, because it was very Vardy-like, and it looks. I think when you look at it again, it looked quite simple, but not at all. But that was Jamie Vardy. He made things look simple. Just a sensational player. And on for Fox8.news, we're going through the top 100 Leicester City players of all time. We're up into the about 50 now. And as you mentioned, a lot of these players are yet to figure. Some have already figured, and most might be in the top 10. We'll find out. But Jamie Vardy, an amazing season, 24 league goals. And again, a player who backed it up season after season after season after that. But in that season, he was ridiculous.
For me, again, it's just, I love the character side of Jamie Vardy in that season. I mean, let's look at that Sunderland goal. He literally mauled whoever it was down on the pitch, going through, things like that. Probably a foul. If I'm looking back at it, if I looked back at it again, it's one of them. I think it's probably a foul. But look at the Crystal Palace game where he's got the arms out after he scores there. It's just that kind of banter that it has, and it was just ultimate Jamie Vardy, almost taking the Michael out of everybody, because he was just quite unbelievable. And when you're in that kind of form, and when you're in that kind of moment, nothing can stop you. And I just felt that's what Vardy was, certainly in that first half of the season, when he was going towards that record, Van Nistelrooy's. Everything, you almost knew it was coming. And just important goals. Like I say, we talked about the Liverpool goal. What a sensational strike. Again, it's just, he had everything. He really did have everything. That year especially, and obviously 4 or 5 years after that as well. He was by far, I think, the best player we've ever had as a player. He was amazing. I love him. I've obviously been over to Italy this season to see him because that's how much he means to me as a Leicester City player. So again, he'll always be my favourite player. He epitomises what Leicester City is, or what should they be. And that season for me was just outstanding.
I've said many times, Rob, when it comes to Jamie Vardy, and when people ask me to go on their shows, or you go on different outlets to do with Leicester, but mainly when it's nothing to do with Leicester, when it's either another club or it's a national outlet on radio, on TV, whatever, and they say about Jamie Vardy, and I always say he's the old man in the stands. He's my dad's favourite player. He's my favourite player. And then you've got a young lad or a young girl with Jamie Vardy, number 9 on the back. He's their favourite player. He crosses all the generations for many reasons. Young kids are always going to have the number 9 possibly as their favourite player. But then he's our favourite player, someone around our age, all three of us. And then, of course, you've got someone like my dad who has seen generation after generation of footballer come through. And yet he's not only their favourite player now, but possibly all time because of the work rate, the attitude, the skill of the man, but also what he represents. He represented Leicester for all those years, and also he backed it up. What we're saying about Mahrez with the rest of his career, Vardy did in a blue Leicester shirt, but in that season, just generally sensational. You always have to mention Mahrez at the same time as Vardy because they're linked together. And also, I'll throw in Danny Drinkwater. We'll come on to other players afterwards, but Vardy, just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was like kind of like I mentioned earlier about Riyad Mahrez, when you're in that kind of that rich vein of form and that momentum, and he spearheaded that momentum, and he was absolutely crucial to the style of play that we won the league with, the style of play that's gone missing ever since, unfortunately. You can have a quick striker, fine. And you can put balls over the top. But are you telling me that if you'd have shoved someone like Pat Sundaka in our title winning side instead of Jamie Vardy, that he'd have bagged all those goals and led us to the title? No, he wouldn't. Vardy had the edge that very few professional footballers have got now. And I think maybe it's very likely that he got that from the fact that he didn't start as a player that graduated from an academy at a big club and then sort of start at the top, loan back to the middle, and then climb back up. He started from the very bottom. He was grafting. I remember actually the first game I played for the team that I joined when I moved up here was in front of the Jamie Vardy stand at Stocksbridge Park Steels. Played in a pre-season friendly, a charity game in front of several hundred people. I don't know how I ended up there because I was not at that level at all, but just see the Jamie Vardy stand there and I was like, this is where he was. That's where he came from. And he brought that sort of that almost old school style, which I think is why he appealed to people of the generation of your parents, Pete, my parents. Just everything about him. Yes, obviously he had an awful lot of quality because he scored goals at the very highest level, got himself for the England team, scored some fantastic goals for England, played at major tournaments, but it came from having that edge where he was determined to make sure that he did whatever he needed to do to get one over the opposition defence or the opposition goalkeeper. And ultimately, I think if you did do a poll of every Leicester fan, and tried to also include those who may no longer be with us who got to see Jamie Vardy in action, I think you're absolutely right. He would come out on top of anybody across Leicester's history. And the extra little feather in his cap is that no other team liked him, but they would have absolutely have loved to have had him on their team.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then there's many others, aren't there? And you can mention them in individual moments. A very crucial goal for Robert Huth. And I still think the Robert Huth story at Leicester, the influence he had in the season before when signing on loan, and then in that season, just absolutely unbelievable. And the header against Tottenham, vitally important goal. We've also got at the back Wes Morgan, who was one of a couple of ever presents in the season. Danny Drinkwater, and I was talking about Danny Drinkwater the other day, and we're on about to Chelsea fans actually, and about how he disappointed at Chelsea, many reasons off the field as well. But he used to come off the field at Leicester, and he used to take his shirt off and wring it out pretty much, and there was nothing on him, and he used to work so hard. And again, my dad's season ticket was just behind the dugout, so great. Always is like, what a player! It's like, he covered so much ground, tackling, passing, superb, absolutely, and a brilliant link up with Vardy. But there's one player I'll just mention as well, and we'll talk about them all at the same time now. And it's something that we should really have had in the last couple of seasons, especially. But we haven't really had that link player between the midfield and forward, have we? We've always gone for more of an attacking midfielder. When Okazaki was the centre forward, who also worked hard and then found a real niche position just in behind Vardy. And Okazaki mentioned he only scored 5 league goals, very important goals as well, winning goals, for example, at Everton and off the top of my head in the overhead kick against Newcastle. But of course, worked so hard. But when he had the chance, he could score, and he showed that in a Leicester shirt. And again, just an amazing signing at the time. He was always going to be, it was part of that data that Leicester processed so well before anyone else got involved in that side of things. And he was a player who covered a lot of ground, worked very hard, but also had a great goal scoring record at Mainz over, I think, in Germany. So it just all clicked, didn't it? But just three players there from defence, midfield, and forward: Huth, Drinkwater, and Okazaki, who sometimes go slightly under the radar. And now I would definitely say that under the radar with Danny Drinkwater, especially with what's happened in his career since. Obviously at Leicester he was brilliant, but when he moved to Chelsea, it all went down here. But in that season, in that league-winning season, I think he still is maybe slightly underappreciated, which hopefully will change it in years to come, maybe if he gets back involved with the football club.
Yeah, it was almost a little bit damaging to him, to the little phrase that Andy mentioned earlier about Kante playing either side, or was it you, Pete? I can't remember. We've been in nearly an hour now. Yeah, it was almost a bit like, well, Drinkwater's kind of there, but Kante's doing all the work, which is absolutely not true. And what you say there about Drinkwater's work rate and wringing his shirt out after, obviously stands out. But for me, the main thing that I would pick out with Drinkwater was his use of the ball, because Kante had a lot more to his game, and I think you saw more of that the better the teams that he played in as well. But at Leicester, his primary focus was to zip about in front of the defence, win the ball back, and quite often the next person who received it would be Danny Drinkwater. And then his decision making and his technical ability, passing wise, range of passing, was absolutely outstanding. And again, I refer back to the style of play that won us the league. It wasn't just aimless balls over the top. Vardy chased a lot, and eventually one got latched onto. It was Mahrez out getting chalk on his boots on the right touchline, and Drinkwater pinging a 60-yarder out to him. It was Drinkwater deciding, right, Vardy's on the shoulder there, I know exactly when to time that pass and to wait that pass. The range of passing that he had on him in that title-winning season was absolutely phenomenal and really key to the success.
And Andy, any other player really gets a mention? I mean, we could obviously mention them all. Albrighton on one wing, again, unheralded at the time, and had an amazing season, and really kick-started his second half of his career, and is a Leicester hero now. And then the fullbacks will of course change. Simpson and Fuchs coming in, completely changing the system with Ranieri, getting rid of the attacking fullbacks in Richie Delat and Jeffrey Schlupp, as we mentioned at the start of the show. And of course you mentioned Schmeichel as well. But what a team!
Exactly. You go back. Just go back to Drinkwater for 30 seconds. I agree with Rob. He was just another level with his passing, his range, what he could do, kind of thing. And actually, it's the most disappointing to see where his career went, because he could have been a very, very good player. Again, he probably made the wrong decision at the wrong time to leave us. Yeah, going to Chelsea, you go to a big elite club, I understand that and kind of thing, but it was a move that was not right for him, and I think anybody that looks at that would probably agree. But then you look at all the others. I mean, for me, you've mentioned him earlier. Robert Huth for me was absolutely key. I'm almost saying he's more key than Morgan was that year, and the previous year when he come in, because he did change that previous season when we stayed up and when he came in on loan. But you look at every single one. I mean, you've mentioned all the starters there and things like that, but you've got other people on the bench, like I say, Leo Ajoa was absolutely vital, just coming on and doing the job. And there was the other
crucial goals.
Marcin Vasilevsky. He came on when we needed him most to just put himself about a bit. He was no nonsense, and he might not have been the best technical player we ever had, but whenever we needed somebody to come on and put his weight around, because we weren't that kind of a side as such kind of thing, but every now and again we needed it. He was the kind of player that came in and did that. Nathan Dyer, crucial moments again. Who would have thought Nathan Dyer coming into that side? I could have told you when he first signed that I was like, what a waste of a loan signing that was. Well, at times he was quite crucial, and he made a difference as well. You got your Jeffrey Schlups, you got your Danny Simpsons, you got your Christian Fuchs and all that. It's just a side that when they all came together, they were probably the ultimate side that shouldn't have been a side, if you know what I mean by that. They just seem to click as a unit, and I don't think we'll ever see a side that clicks that well as a unit for that one season that gets you the ultimate goal and the ultimate prize.
Yeah, and what a prize it was, and what a celebration after Victoria Park, 250,000 people there, Kasabian, etc. It was absolutely amazing. That day was sensational, absolutely fantastic. I think that I'm still trying to dry off with all the cobra. It was coming out my ears. It was unbelievable. I joined a few mates, and we're on London Road in a curry house, and the best thing was they. It was mate Craig and Big Dan, and I mean Andy, you're a tall bloke. Everyone's a tall bloke compared to me, but I'm standing with giants here, and I've got a great photo of us in Rome, and I'm standing on the seats, and they're standing on the terrace, and yet they're still taller than me. It's ridiculous. So anyway, we're standing in this curry house, and it's got a sloping step upwards, so it's great for me because I can stand on the top of that. And I'm about level height with them, and we just got seriously involved on the Cobra train, and it was but it was great. The atmosphere in the city, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic. The weather was great. Oh, it was fantastic, and yeah, and it's one of those things when you see it on the news and you see some people go, oh yeah, it brings the city together and all this sort of thing, and you can kind of go a bit, yeah, you know. But it did. It really, really did. It did. I've been listening to quite a few things recently about Leicester, and obviously 10 years later, Jonathan Norcroft talking about it, and he lives in the city, and he was mentioning about that. And he says, but it was true because he was interviewing people who don't go to the football, and there they are all wearing the blue, and then they've been going for years to come afterwards, and it opened the door for many people to join the Leicester family. Maybe they supported another team. Maybe they were supporting United, City, Liverpool. But they were from Leicester, and all of a sudden said, "Hang on, why am I not supporting my hometown club?" And hopefully they will remain that way. But the celebrations were sensational, weren't they, Rob?
Oh, that day was just unbelievable. I remember starting it with a barbecue around my mate's house, just a few of us there, just sort of getting ourselves prepared. And I remember it not finishing, but getting towards an end. Pete, you were so far on the Cobra train, you've omitted to mention that we actually had a Cobra together.
We did, yeah.
I remember we'd been at Vicky Park, obviously seen the players and stuff come onto the stage, Kasabian and everything has just gone absolutely mental. And then obviously it doesn't end there, so we're on about piling ourselves into town, but so like tens of thousands. Yeah, Perko was there as well. I wasn't with Perko at the time, but I was with Perko's cousin, who's actually one of my best mates from school. And we're walking down London Road, just surrounded by people in this sea of people, thinking, where on earth are we going to get a beer? So I'm on the phone to Pete, and Pete's like, oh, I'm in this curry house or this world buffet. And I'm like, right, so a lot of these places are not letting anybody in. or they're like 20 deep at the bar. And Pete's like, I'm literally leaning on the bar. I can order you a beer right now and it will be in my hand in the next 30 seconds. And I was like, really? On London Road, where I can't see the tarmac. There's people everywhere. So he's like, yeah. And you can hear that Pete's had one or two Cobras. So I'm like, do I trust him? All right, go on. But I need to see him anyway, because we haven't seen each other all day at the parade. Me and my mates pile into this place, and then you just walk through the bit where people are eating their dinner. Who's having dinner on a night like that? And then you get to the back, and there's the bar, and there's Pete just leaning on it, and there was literally nobody at the bar. I was like, I'll have a pint of Cobra then, please. And then we carried on standing in the doorway then, didn't we? Just watching people go by, and then Perko joined us, and there must have been like 10, 15 of us at that moment. Yeah. And then I tell you, the hardest editing job I've ever had on a For Fox's Sake podcast. God. And we're into the about 400-500s now, I reckon. We've lost count with all the live shows and stuff that we do now, but we used to number each episode. The most difficult editing job I've had was the one after the parade, because in my wisdom, I'd also been on the Cobra train for most of the day, just like my good friend and colleague here, Pete. In my wisdom, in Firebug, for anybody that knows it, probably like one of the latest opening bars in Leicester, I've got timed voice notes on my phone at like 2, 3, 4 a.m., whatever, of me interviewing fans saying, oh yeah, I'm on a Leicester podcast, I'll get your thoughts on there. But I'm asking the questions down it, thinking this is great. This is world-class reporting. This. Listen back to it the next day on a monster hangover, and I could only understand about half the words I was saying, let alone what the people were saying back to me. So clipping some of those up and putting them in and not making it sound like a drunken ramble was something else. But I think that perfectly encapsulated the sort of the feeling of the day. Everybody's got many a story from that.
I completely forgot about it. That's right.
Clearly.
There was a picture we shared the other day, actually, on my birthday. I think Perko put it on. Anyway, Andy, like just and that's it. The celebrations, and of course, we've had many celebrations at Leicester since, but it was just something special, wasn't it? And I've seen pictures today from like Coventry, etc., but I don't think anyone can top what happened in Leicester that day.
No, it was great, and I'm probably going on a bit more of a. I didn't have quite as an eventful day as you. I was with my family. Obviously, I'm a foster carer as well, so I had 2 young twins at that point, but they'd been and got their Leicester City whole kits on. They were full kit, whatever you call them. They were there, and I was there with my wife, who I will dob her in. She was a Nottingham Forest fan, but now she's we've moved her over now. She's on the good side now.
No.
I won't say she was a Forest fan. She had links to Forest. Let's say that. But no, she's a fully fledged Leicester lady now. But yeah, I was with her and the 2 foster twins that we had at the time. And yeah, it was just fantastic being there in that moment with them, giving them a moment as well that you'll never forget. And yeah, it was just special. It was seeing the Caribbean boys. Obviously, we all know what they're like, and the fans that we are of them as a band as well. It was just a special day. It was red hot. That's all I remember. It was red hot. You couldn't see anything but blue. It was just blue all around. You didn't know where you could go. You didn't know where you could stand. You didn't know where you could sit. It was just an amazing day, and it was just a fun day. Tiring day for the kids, but it was just brilliant. I'm looking at it from that kind of point of view. Unfortunately, I wasn't on the Cobras. I wasn't allowed to be on the Cobras with looking after them too.
Well, and that's the thing. We've come to a close on this special episode, looking at the Leicester win 10 years later, and we've not mentioned the Vardy volley against Liverpool and all sorts of individual things that you all listening and watching will have witnessed and will have thought, and you'll have your own crazy stories about meeting people you're not seeing for ages and having messages after they won the league, text messages from people you went to school with and you've not heard from or seen from, saying congratulations, you were always a fan of them, all that sort of thing, and just like your own individual memories. You never know, the memories could happen again. We do need to mention 1 or 2 things just before you go on the podcast. Do make sure you give us a rating on, if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, give us a 5-star rating. It does help the algorithm. It means people can find us and they can listen to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, subscribe anyway. It's completely free. Click on subscribe and it makes sure that you don't miss an episode. And then our very special giveaway. We are giving away, and again, if you're listening to this, bear with me because I'm going to reach over and grab it. We have a signed and framed Ricardo Pereira shirt, and we are giving it away. Here it is once again. Yep. Okay. There's a better picture on the website. So if you go to www.forfoxsake.news, forfoxsake.news is the website, and you need to become a member. And if you are a member already, you're already in the draw. If you become a member, then you're in the draw. The draw will take place on the 29th of May. It's all on the website. Have a look on there. Go to www.forfoxsake.news, and it means you have to become a member, and then you're in the draw. That's it. Dead simple. There is a specific page regarding the draw. It gives you all the explanation on there, all the links to then subscribe. £5 a month is what it costs. It gets you all the content on the website regarding Leicester City. And of course, there's a lot of news regarding Leicester City at the moment, a lot of nostalgia pieces. Also, the top 100 players, we're still going through those. We're in about the 50s now, and loads of interviews with former players. Full coverage of Leicester City women. It's getting bigger and better. We've got some great plans for the website this summer. So make sure you do subscribe. And if you do, then you're in with a chance of winning that fantastic shirt. It's got the dimensions on there. It's got everything on there. So head to forfox8.news, click on the giveaway, and you can see all the details and also links to how to subscribe. Again, it's £5 a month. It's £50 for the entire year. You can join for a month if you want. And if you don't like the look at the website, you can cancel anytime. It's up to you. But if you do subscribe, it means you're in the draw and you're in the hat to win that fantastic Ricardo Pereira signed and framed shirt. It's got a great picture on the website, so check it out and make sure you do subscribe. And of course, if you do subscribe, it keeps these podcasts absolutely free as well. Final comments, sports fans, regarding the league-winning season of 10 years ago. Rob Hayes, we've covered plenty of ground. Is there anything else from that season that you want to mention?
Dilly ding, dilly dong.
Andy Moore.
He stole my thunder there. I was literally going to do exactly the
So
same.
sorry.
We didn't talk about Claudio at all, did we? And I think
No.
that's one of the things that he came into this into this team, and I still look back at it and look at Nigel Pearson as well and the influence he had. And what Claudio did is he came into that side, he assessed them and thought, I ain't got to change a lot here. I think we're going to be all right. He probably didn't think we were going to win the league when he first came in. But for me, his biggest asset was that he knew that we were on some kind of momentum trip, and he didn't change much, and he didn't need to at the time. And he changed it later on, didn't he? And when he needed to, and he got it right.
I always think that if Claudio wasn't there, then we wouldn't have won the league. I think we would have gone close. I really do. But I couldn't have seen Nigel Pearson maybe getting us over the line. I think Claudio won us the league. But if Claudio didn't turn up, then I think we would have been top 6 at least anyway, with the side that we had. And also with, again, the momentum from the previous season. But Claudio was there, and it meant that we had Angelo Bocelli at the end singing, and that's where we kind of started, and that's where we finished, really, because that was in a season of unbelievable moments, unbelievable players, unbelievable goals, and ultimately winning the Premier League with him singing before the final game. That was just ridiculous. And when he sang Nessa Dorma, I think even the most cold, stone-hearted Leicester fan, it broke them then. It might have been, for me, the game against Spurs against West Brom randomly, and I wasn't there. I was at work. It might have been the Sunderland game when it got to Claudio. It could have been another game in the season that got you, but that got everybody, I think, even those who aren't Leicester fans. Make sure you subscribe to the website. It means that you're in the draw for our giveaway of a Ricardo Pereira shirt. We'll be back in the next few days because we've got plenty to discuss regarding the season that's just gone by. We're going to have a lovely episode of Stay or Go. A little bit of humour is going to be entered into the podcast regarding the season that's just gone, because we can't really talk about it seriously, can we, all the time. We're going to have a Do They Stay or Do They Go episode, so a nice bit of fun there. And also, I will be counting down the 101 reasons why Leicester are in League One. And again, a little bit of gallows humour going on there as well. But from myself, Pete Selby, from Rob Hayes, from Andy Moore, from everybody at For Fox's Sake, hope you've enjoyed this look back at 10 years ago. Leicester City won the Premier League. Hopefully it will happen again. And if it does, we can do this all over again. But, you know, one thing's for sure. Here at For Fox's Sake, we'll be talking all things Leicester in the next few days. We'll be with you over the summer months as well. Plenty happening on the website. Make sure you subscribe. For foxsake.news. Stay with us and stay with Leicester.